Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is a pretty strategic one. We're giving you what we think is the ultimate shortcut to a successful enterprise AI adoption. I
Hmm.
mean, every organization is racing to deploy these generative AI tools, right? But
Yeah,
just flipping the switch, that's the easy part.
that is the easy part.
So today we are diving into a really crucial readiness guide. It details 8 essential high-leverage fixes you have to tackle before you turn on Copilot or, any similar internal AI.
That's exactly right. A lot of these rollouts, they fail because organizations treat AI like it's just another piece of software you install.
Right. Just click next, next, finish.
Exactly. And the source material we're looking at today is really a critical checklist designed to reframe this. It's a systemic shift. We're moving past that novelty
And
phase.
wow factor.
Yeah, the wow
Uh-huh.
factor. And we're giving you the strategic prep needed to make sure that technology doesn't just switch on, but that it becomes useful, secure, and scalable instantly from day one.
And if you skip this prep.
If you skip it, you're essentially paying a premium for pure chaos.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately. And let's start with what seems like the most basic, but also probably the most frightening foundational stuff.
The stuff under the hood.
Yeah, we're talking about data integrity and data access. The guide places one fix above all others, and it calls it the cornerstone, the data foundation.
And what's so fascinating here is that even for, sophisticated users like yourself, the guide lists this as the absolute prerequisite. You can have the most advanced AI on the planet, but the principle is simple.
Copilot is only as good as the information it can safely access.
That's it.
I think a lot of people just assume they can, point the AI at their shared drive and everything will be fine.
It's a tempting thought.
But the guide forces us to confront this reality that our data environments are. I mean, they're often decades of accumulated mess. So why is this cleanup more urgent than, say, writing up your first prompt standards?
Because if the foundation is flawed, everything, and I mean everything, that you build on top of it is also flawed.
Yeah.
And that has real stakes, not just technical ones.
Right.
This fix, it demands rigorous housekeeping. You have to clean up old content, reduce duplicates, organize files, and make sure the data the AI is actually indexing is accurate and current.
Because if you feed the LLM junk.
You get back smart-sounding junk.
Yeah.
And that is a massive liability. I mean, think about it. An incorrect AI-generated report based on some outdated duplicate file.
It could lead to huge problems.
Huge. Serious compliance issues, financial missteps, even legal risk if that smart-sounding junk gets sent to a client. This cleanup defines the utility of the tool and, frankly, the cost of its errors.
That puts a fine point on it. It's not just about, wasted credits on an LLM.
No, it's about regulatory noncompliance.
Okay, so once you figured out what data the AI should use, the next question is maybe even scarier. What data is it allowed to use? And that brings us from data health right to security. Fix number 3, permissions and access.
This is non-negotiable. If you skip this, you are actively, deliberately introducing risk into your organization.
Why? How does that work?
The AI's access token is basically a mirror of the user's access token. So if a user shouldn't be able to see a file, the AI shouldn't either. The risk is that if your underlying file permissions are already a mess,
Which they probably are.
which they often are. Let's say, everyone has access to a sensitive HR folder that should have been locked down years ago. The AI will inherit those flawed permissions.
So walk us through the worst case scenario here. What happens if we just turn the AI loose on a messy environment with bad permissions?
The worst case is data leakage across silos. The guide really emphasizes this critical risk of Copilot surfacing sensitive content.
Like what?
Proprietary blueprints, executive meeting notes, private customer data, surfacing it all to the wrong employees. An executive assistant might just ask for a summary of all personnel files.
And if the permissions are messy?
The AI might just pull data that only the HR director should ever see, because the assistant's access token technically allowed it, even if the user had no idea. The fix is to make sure your access rules are tight and compliant before that indexer ever runs.
So we've tidied up the house, we've cleaned the data, we've locked all the right doors with permissions. Now we can move from the infrastructure fixes to the strategic ones.
Exactly. Now it's time to define the mission.
Okay.
We have to stop thinking of this as some magic new app and start seeing it for what it is, a strategic enhancement tool. And it has to be tied directly to business results.
That mindset shift brings us to fix number 2, workflow clarity. The guide warns against what it calls random usage wasting potential, but Shouldn't you let people play around with it at first, for exploratory discovery?
Exploration is fine, but it can't be your strategic launch plan. If you just let everyone play, you get scattered, unpredictable results and a complete nightmare when you try to measure ROI.
So you need a target.
You need a target. The strategic step is to define the specific high-value workflows you want to improve right from the start.
Can you give us some examples from the sources? Where is this focus best applied?
Look at the common, repeatable, high-volume tasks. The sources cite things like drafting customer service responses, summarizing those long internal
Oh,
reports.
that's a good one.
Yeah, or creating standardized quarterly financial reports, even initial drafts of legal documents. By guiding the AI with these real established processes, you make sure that your immediate investment pays off. It makes existing work demonstrably faster or better.
And if you don't do this?
You could end up paying hundreds of thousands for a tool that just helps people write slightly better internal memos. You need that intentionality to guarantee a return.
I really appreciate that focus on intentionality, on ROI. So once we know what we want the AI to do, let's say, summarize financial reports, we have to make sure everyone on the finance team is doing it the same way, in a high-quality way.
Right.
And this brings us to fix number 5. Prompt standards. We need consistency.
This is your quality control lever for AI adoption. And it's where you see this tension between standardization and creativity. The fix demands you create simple internal guidance.
Like a best practices guide.
Exactly. What information to include, what kind of language to avoid, the tone you expect.
But hang on, doesn't codifying standards like that stifle the really innovative uses people might find? If we tell everyone exactly how to prompt, aren't we just going to get, predictable average results?
That's a great question, but the guide makes a really key distinction. Standardization here isn't about stifling creativity. It's about guaranteeing safety and consistency for your high-stakes tasks.
Okay, an example.
If your sales teams are drafting contracts using AI, they need a standardized legal disclaimer included in that prompt every single time. If every department develops its own prompt style and, more importantly, its own validation process, the results are going to be wildly inconsistent.
And dangerous.
And potentially dangerous. The most critical piece of this fix is defining how to validate the outputs. Who double-checks the AI before that information leaves the company? Standardization ensures consistent, safe, and high-quality results from day one.
That clarifies it. Safety and reliability first, especially at scale. Okay, so we've cleaned the data, set permissions, defined the workflows, and we've established our quality control. Now for the mechanics of deployment.
Right, making sure the tool actually lives where the work gets done.
Which is fix number 7, integration with business apps. I feel like this is such a classic pitfall with any new enterprise tool.
It is.
It just stays isolated. It becomes another browser tab people have to remember to open instead of actually supporting real work. Why is integration so often the failure point?
Because that isolation guarantees low adoption. It forces the user to manually copy and paste context all day.
Right.
I mean, if I'm a customer service agent and I have to read a CRM ticket in one window, copy the key points, switch over to the Copilot window, draft my response, and then switch back to paste it in.
You'll just write it yourself. It's faster.
I'll just write it myself. It saved 3 steps. The guide stresses that the AI has to be connected directly to the tools people actually use.
So give us the killer app examples here. Where does that integration really shine?
It's all about pulling live context. The sources list all the necessary integrations. Documents, tickets, CRM systems, HR systems, knowledge bases.
So the AI can draft a summary for a manager.
By automatically accessing the relevant HR policy docs. Or a sales rep can draft a personalized email that automatically pulls in the prospect's entire history from the CRM. That's where the value, it explodes.
It becomes an assistant instead of just a tool.
Exactly. It becomes an embedded, essential assistant that saves you time on every single task.
That makes perfect sense. But even the best integrated tool is going to stumble at first, which I guess is why we need to talk about fix number 6, feedback loops.
Yes.
Because a successful rollout needs adaptation, not just a flawless launch.
You can't just launch it and walk away. This fix is so critical for preventing what we call rollout drift.
Rollout drift.
Yeah, it's where the initial enthusiasm just sort of fades, and the tool gets used inconsistently, or not at all. Organizations have to set up a clear, streamlined reporting structure, something much easier than just submitting a generic IT ticket.
And what information needs to flow through that structure?
Users need to be able to immediately and easily tell you 3 things. First, what's working, so you can replicate those wins.
Okay.
Second, what's failing, the technical glitches or safety issues that need triage right away. And third, what needs improvement. The suggestions for new strategic use cases.
So this structured feedback ensures quick adaptation.
It does. It lets the deployment team refine the prompt standards, maybe update the data foundation, and replicate those early successes across other teams. The tool gets better, faster, based on real user experience.
So if the first fixes were about data, security, strategy, and tech, then the final two fixes are all about the human element.
Yep, the behavioral change, the adoption, and the culture you need for this to actually succeed.
And these are arguably the hardest.
Oh, by far. Because they require cultural transformation, not just a configuration patch.
Let's start with fix number 4, training by role, not department. This feels like a necessary shift from that generic AI training we've all sat through.
The mandatory 1-hour video on how to open the app.
Exactly.
Generic training leads to generic and often irrelevant outcomes. I mean, think about a classic failed rollout. You train the whole company in one big session.
Right.
The finance team gets generic advice on drafting sales emails, and the sales team gets advice on quarterly financial reporting. Neither finds immediate value, and both teams they reject the tool.
So the training has to be about the outcome, not just the features.
Precisely. It has to be tailored to specific roles and tasks.
Yep.
Think legal document analysis for the legal team, specific HR inquiries for HR, IT troubleshooting guides for IT. The curriculum has to focus intensely on the prompts and use cases that directly match their day-to-day work.
So it's instantly relevant.
It's instantly relevant and essential. They see an immediate return on their time.
Which brings us to the final cultural lever. Fix number 8, leadership modeling. This gets overlooked so often, but the guide treats it as absolutely essential. Why is visible leadership use so critical?
It's the single biggest factor in shifting adoption from being, a mandated chore to being an enthusiastic cultural norm.
And what does that mean, leadership modeling?
It means leaders from the CEO all the way down to middle managers have to actively use Copilot. And crucially, they have to share real practical examples of how it helps their work.
What's the psychological impact of that? How does seeing your boss use it overcome, say, resistance from a manager or just general skepticism from a user?
It provides permission and it provides validation. If a department head shows how they used AI to condense a complex 20-page strategy doc into 3 clear bullet points for a meeting, 2 things happen.
Okay.
First, it instantly proves the tool's utility for high-value work. It fights that idea that AI is just for, sudden novelties. Second, it signals to every single person below them that it is safe, encouraged, and expected for them to innovate.
It makes adoption cultural, not optional.
Exactly. The whole organization learns faster through these visible, practical wins.
That is a phenomenal summary of the cultural stakes. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've covered 8 critical fixes, from the back-end data cleanup all the way up to that cultural buy-in from the top. And implementing these is really the strategic prerequisite to making AI immediately useful, secure, and scalable.
The structure is a powerful roadmap, really. Foundation first, then strategy, then careful deployment, and finally you focus on the culture. We know if you neglect fix 1, your data foundation, the AI outputs are worthless.
And if you neglect fix 8, leadership modeling,
adoption will stall. It doesn't matter how clean your data is.
So the whole thing really hinges on those 2 pillars.
It does. And that's what we'll leave you, the learner, with as a final provocative thought. Consider that relationship between fix 1, the data foundation, and fix 8, leadership modeling. The quality of the AI outputs relies on both perfect, clean data and on universally high-quality user prompts.
Which is driven by leadership and training.
Right. So if you have to choose where to dedicate your most precious resources, your time, your money, your people, which of these 8 fixes is the single hardest, most enduring challenge to scale across a large organization? Achieving that perfect data foundation, or achieving the cultural buy-in and universally high-quality prompting needed for true adoption?
That is the strategic decision that determines your success.
It is.
An excellent place to leave it. Thank you for diving deep with us into the architecture of AI readiness. We'll catch you next time.